U.S. stocks soared Friday with the fuel of lighter than expected inflation data, helping equity markets reach their longest winning streak since November of 2021. There was a hint that Friday's session was going to be a faceripper when some of the most stubborn market bears threw in the towel and capitulated on their shorts. And so on Friday, it was a sea of green as every single sector was up. And technically, Friday's market eruption pushed stocks above key thresholds, such as the 200 daily moving average on the Russell 2000. The S&P 500 has left the 100 daily moving average far in the rearview mirror and now has its sights on the 200 DMA. But most importantly, the S&P 500 is now back above the 50% retracement level measured from the January all-time high to the June bear market low. And this is key because there has never been a bear market rally that bounced back above the 50% mark and then went on to make a lower low. However, I'll still be looking for a retest of that low. Understand that I may be wrong, and so something like averaging your purchases may be a superior strategy. Regardless, keep in mind that after the 2000 dot-com bubble record high, the Nasdaq had 7 bear market rallies over 20%, while it fell 78% to its 2002 low. Although I don't expect this, we still face a doubling of the quantitative tightening. Keep that in mind. But for now, retail remains firmly in control. Today, we'll look at a few charts, including a chart for the ambassador regarding HIS Holdings Limited. Let's go. And now we're looking at a 3-year weekly chart on the spiders, the SPY, and the close on Friday was 427.10. And as you can see here, we've talked about this before, the trend line, or actually the channel with the bottom trend line moving through like that, more or less, and then the top channel line moving through here more or less like that. As you can see, we had a nice bottoming and a basing, a test of this bottom trend line, and then a strong move on up through the trend line, as well as through the 20 and the 50 EMA. So this is a valid rally. Let's keep watching it. Now, the thing to me that was unimpressive about this is here in the volume. The volume is relatively weak with a decline. You don't want to see that necessarily in an upward move, but look, I'll take it. We're on our way up, and it does seem relatively strong, at least in the media. Now, here in the MACD, you can see a nice bottoming and a basing with that fast line moving up and through the slow line and heading on up and creating some separation. Yet, we're still near that -10 level, which means it is still weak, but it's strengthening. So, given that it's so weak, though, remember we can have some volatility, especially if you take a look at the monthly chart. Now here in the histogram, same thing, bottoming and basing, and on we went, up above that zero line. So very strong, and you see the strength continuing here in the price rate of change. There in the relative strength index, the RSI, the level is 63.14. It's moving on up above that 50 or midline, so definitely getting stronger. We want it to get up close to that 80 level and maybe up and through that. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. But the stochastics also look nice. And then, of course, the Williams made its way all the way up into the oversold territory, all the way up to a negative 0.17, so very strong, and it can hang up here for a while, as you can see going back here. So the Williams is bringing up all the other oscillators, and of course the price is moving on up too, so very strong. Back here, take one last look at the chart, and as I said, you can't necessarily always pick the bottom, so if you're going to average your purchases on the way through this, that might be a pretty good strategy. So pick your stocks and pick your points. All right, let's go now and take a look at a chart for the ambassador. And now this chart for the ambassador, as you can see here, we're looking at all data on a weekly basis. There really isn't much history to this chart here, so that's why I'm doing it on a weekly basis. Normally I'd like to start on a monthly basis, but we're just going to look at this here, and we're using MarketWatch, essentially big charts, because this doesn't show up on real-time stockquotes.com. So for IS Holdings Limited, and the symbol is IHS, and the close on Friday was $8.50, and you can see here, since the IPO, the stock has moved down consistently with an attempt to move up here, but it's continued on down here. Now, as the ambassador knows, I don't know anything about this stock. I have not done any research. The ambassador simply asked me to take a look at the charts. Now, there's not much to the charts because our charts have a lot more oscillators, and this only has a few. But you could take here a look in the lower portion here as I move up. This is the MACD. You definitely have a lower low here in the MAC, and as you can see, it's bottoming and basing here in this area, which is above this level back here. So things do seem to be strengthening, at least internally. The price doesn't show it, but there's a divergence going on with the bottoming and basing here, potentially with the fast line going to move up and through the slow line. Pretty much the same thing here in these stochastics. We came down here and did a nice bottoming and basing with the fast line moving up and through the slow line, and it looks like it wants to head on up as well, and you can see that in the Williams here in the lower portion of the chart. Nice bottoming and basing, looks like it wants to move on up. However, the problem for me is I always like to take a look at a longer term monthly chart, and without the ability to do that, I would say make sure you're conducting your due diligence for now. This may be a bottoming and basing here, but without that long-term chart, I really can't say much more. So this is up to you. Just make sure you conduct your due diligence. And for today, that's ChewDog Charts. Thank you.